Hello and welcome to the turbulent world with me, James M. Dorsey, as your host. Much like Hezbollah miscalculated with its 15-month-long war of attrition against Israel, Yemen's Houthi rebels risk being the next target in Israel's campaign to rewrite the Middle East's political map. We will act with strength, determination, and ingenuity, even if it takes time. The result will be the same as with other terrorist arms, said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Some Israelis suggest that to effectively target the Houthis, Israel should simultaneously emasculate Iran, already on the defensive because of the loss of ousted President Bashar al-Assad's Syria, the weakening of Lebanese Shiite Muslim militia Hezbollah, and severe Israeli damage inflicted on the Islamic Republic's air defenses. David Barnea, the head of Israel's Mossad Foreign Intelligence Service, egged on by senior military commanders, an opposition leader, and former War Cabinet member Benny Gantz, advised Mr. Netanyahu to attack both the Houthis and Iran in response to the most recent Houthi missile attack against Israel. No one was injured in the attack on Christmas Eve, in which Israel intercepted the Houthi missile. We need to go for Iran. If we only hit the Houthis, it's not certain we'll manage to stop them, Israel's Channel 13 quoted Mr. Barnea as saying. Mr. Barnea's notion that Israel may not be able to defeat the Houthis was shared by analysts, even though they did not necessarily favor the targeting of Iran. Yoel Gozansky, a Gulf expert and former Israeli National Security Council official, said the Houthis don't have a lot to lose. They cannot be deterred. Israel's focus on Yemen sparked speculation Israel may support the United Arab Emirates' aspirations to control oil-rich southern Yemen, including Hadramaut Governorate, traditionally a preserve of Saudi influence on the Arabian Sea. In competition with Saudi Arabia in the Yemen war, the UAE supports groups whose goals run the gamut, from establishing Hadramaut as an autonomous region within a unified Yemen, to reverting to the pre-1990 division of the North and South into separate independent states. Mr. Netanyahu sees taking on the Houthis as dealing another devastating blow to the Iran-backed axis of resistance that groups non-state actors aligned with the Islamic Republic. The axis, which includes the Houthis and Iraqi Shiite militias, is a shadow of itself with the loss of Syria and the weakening of Hezbollah and Hamas. Iranian support for the Houthis is one driver of Mr. Netanyahu's wanting to target Iran. Iran's nuclear program is another. For Mr. Netanyahu, the question is not if, but when to strike in Iran. Israeli media reports suggest Mr. Netanyahu will wait until U.S. President-elect Donald Trump enters the Oval Office on January 20, in the belief that the incoming president, contrary to outgoing President Joe Biden, would back Israeli action against Iran. This weekend, Mr. Trump's nominee for National Security Advisor, Mr. Mike Waltz, said Mr. Netanyahu deserved much of the credit for the rapid changes in the Middle East. Mr. Waltz, pointing to Israel's taking down of Hezbollah, which everyone said could be done and would be too provocative, and exposing Israel's air defenses, so they literally are naked right now and on their back foot. hitting their finances across the region and the money that has been flowing out of Tehran into Beirut and its proxies in Syria and elsewhere. Mr. Waltz described the possibility of Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon as catastrophic. If Iran gets a nuke, the Saudis are going to want a nuke. The Turks are going to want a nuke. The Middle East exploding, not literally, but figuratively, in a nuclear arms race should scare every American, Mr. Waltz said. The National Security Advisor in waiting suggested that the Trump administration may withdraw from Syria the 2,000 U.S. troops in the country. We do not need American boots running around Syria in any way, shape, or form, Mr. Waltz said, defending a move that would abandon the Kurds, who played a crucial role in the fight against the Islamic State. Arguing against the withdrawal of U.S. troops, former CIA operative Mark Polymeropoulos warned that a Syria descending into chaos would be a boon for the Islamic State and a counterterrorism headache for the US and Europe. Mr. Waltz left unaddressed whether the administration would endorse Israeli support for Syrian Kurds, battling a pro-Turkish militia seeking to dislodge them from their strongholds in northern Syria, potentially pitting Israel against Turkey. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said earlier this week that Israel should consider helping Syria's Kurds, describing them as Israel's natural allies. Turkey has long opposed U.S. support for the predominantly Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, which it considers a terrorist organization linked to the outlawed Kurdish Workers' Party, PKK. The PKK has waged a 4-decade-long, low-intensity war in southeastern Turkey for recognition of Kurdish rights, in which some 40,000 people have died. Locked into battle with the SDF, the Syrian National Army, or SNA, is seeking to drive the Kurds out of areas in northern Syria, close to the Turkish border, and prevent them from creating an autonomous region in northern Syria. Contrary to constituent elements of the Syrian National Army, the Syrian Democratic Forces did not attend this weekend's gathering in which militia commanders agreed to surrender their weapons and integrate their forces into a unified Syrian military under the authority of the Defense Ministry. In response, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed, referring to the Kurdish Workers' Party and the Islamic State, that these separatist murderers will either lay down their arms or be buried in Syria. Mr. Erdogan's vow appeared to bear out U.S. Senator James Lankford, Republican of Oklahoma's warning that if the United States withdraws, we'll see a proliferation of the Islamic State throughout that area. The Turks will actually slaughter the Kurds. Thank you for joining me today. Thousands across the globe are avid readers and listeners of the turbulent world. Join them in helping maintain and expand the column and podcast by becoming a paid subscriber. Paid subscribers have access to the full archive, exclusive posts, and polling, can leave comments, join debates, and know they are supporting independent writing, reporting, and analysis that lets the chips fall where they fall. You can contribute by going to jamesmdorsey.substack.com and choosing one of the subscription options. Thank you for your support and loyalty. Take care and best wishes.